أيمن. لا لا لا. ما في. الحمد لله. سلام. ها. الحمد لله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على خير المرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم لا سهل إلا ما جعلته سهلا، وأنت تجعل الحزن إن شئت سهلا. اللهم اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. أما بعد، نكمل مع مختصر منهاج القاصدين لابن قدامة المقدسي رحمه الله تعالى. يقول 25 كتاب الغرور وأقسامه ودرجاته. قال: ومن الناس من غرته الدنيا. So in this section or chapter he talks about the chapter of deception and its parts or its categories and its levels. قال: ومن الناس من غرته الدنيا فقال النقد خير من النسيئة، والدنيا نقد والآخرة نسيئة، وهذا محل التلبيس، فإن النقد لا يكون خيرا من النسيئة إلا إذا كان مثل النسيئة. ومعلوم أن عمر الإنسان بالإضافة إلى مدة الآخرة ليس بجزء من 1000 جزء إلى أن ينقطع النفس، وإنما أراد من قال النقد خير من النسيئة إذا كانت النسيئة مثل النقد، وهذا غرور الكفار. He said, from amongst people who have been or who were deceived by the dunya, by this dunya we live in. With dunya, as we said, or as one opinion, that dunya is derived its name from الدنو, and that is al-qurb, and that is being near. Dunu is to be close, to be near. So we are indulged or we are dressed with the garment of dunya since we live in it. So the dunya compared to the akhirah is closer to us, right? So the dunya we live in is closer to us than the akhirah that we are heading to. And hence it's called the dunya, being the closer one. For he said, from amongst people who have been deceived and fooled by the dunya. So they said, as a sign of their deception, they said, النقد خير من النسيئة والدنيا نقد والآخرة نسيئة. They said, there's a group of people who said النقد خير من النسيئة، والنسيئة من التأخير. النسيئة منها ما يؤخر. فالله said, these group of people, they said in naqd cash to be paid immediately is better than to be paid later. Okay? And they say the dunya we're in is cash or is immediate pay. Akhirah is being paid later. And since we're in the dunya and we're going to be paid immediately, then obviously that is better than to wait to be paid. Right? والدنيا نقد والآخرة نسيئة. طبعا كلمة النسيئة النسيئة, as we said, is من باب the delay. And that's why there is one kind of riba. There are two kinds of riba. One kind, riba al-fadl, and that is what people most aware of. And then there is riba al-nasiya, right? Or riba al-nasiya is the most people, or people are more acquainted with. And there is riba al-fadl, where a lot of people do not know. Riba al-fadl or riba al-nasiya, the famous riba that we all aware of. You borrow, I lend you $100 today, and in a month you pay me back 110. We know that's riba, right? And it's important to pay attention that the riba has to do with loans rather than sales. Loans rather than sales, right? So if you want to buy a house or you want to buy a car, and you go to the car owner and he tells you, you want to pay me now, it's $1,000. You want to pay me in a year, then it will be $1,100. هذا sales. There's no problem with that. على الراجح. Because there is another opinion differ with that. But the more accurate or the more correct, that there is no problem with this kind of riba. Because the riba means increase, right? There's no problem with this kind of interest, what people call interest. So if you pay me cash or you pay me now, it's $1,000. If you pay me over a year, then it will be $1,100, right? But the transaction is between you and me only. There is no third party. Now he can tell you, you don't want to pay right now, that's fine, but I need my money. So I'm gonna hook you up with a bank who's gonna pay me my $1,000, and then the bank gonna collect from you $1,100. Riba, haram. Even though the amount did not change, even though it might be even less. So let's repeat. So if you pay me cash, it's $1,000, but you wanna pay me over 12 months, it will be $1,100. That's fine. Or the owner or the dealer will tell you, you pay cash, it's $1,000. I can get you a loan through a bank, through a lender, right? And the bank will pay me the $1,000, and then between you and him, you have to pay him back $1,000 and $1. Riba, haram. Because in the first transaction it was sales. In the second transaction between me and the dealer was sales. In the second transaction between me and the dealer, sales. But between me and the bank, loan. Where riba happens where? With loans. مفهوم؟ طيب. So, riba al-nasiya is this. Riba al-nasiya is one that has to do with delay. You lend me $100 now, and you pay me $110 in a month. Riba, haram. Right? Exactly. This is haram. Because there was nothing bought. You didn't buy anything. But I can get you a solution for that. You need money. Right? You need money. You go and you buy something with finance. You go to the dealer, and he will finance it for you. $1,000. Going back to the $1,000. Fine. Maybe a car will not work well because you will not be given the title until you finish paying off. You need $10,000. You go buy something, finance. Hmm? So they give it to you right away. You start paying in a month, or you start paying right away the first payment, and then they give you 3 years to pay. But now you own the product. So you go and you sell it. So now you have the $10,000 that you need. But you still owe the person you bought the product from, for whatever deal you had with him. Just because you sold it and you don't have it, don't say, I don't have to pay the guy I bought it from initially. I don't have it anymore. La. So now, if you don't understand 100%, don't go out and talk about it, unless you really master what I'm talking about, right? But anyway, so that's riba. One of the forms of riba they used to do before, called riba al-'ina, al-bay' bil-'ina. So they want to go around the first scenario. Remember I told you, you pay me cash for the car, $1,000. You pay me over a year, $1,100. It's between me and you. That's fine. So some people try to play with it, and this was known in Jahiliyyah, and the Prophet ﷺ and Islam forbid. You come to me, you're the dealer. I come to you, I want a car. But actually, I don't want the car. I want $1,000 loan. But I don't want to do riba. So I'm going to buy the car from you for $1,100. Right? Now think about it. So you give me the keys. Now I have the car. I owe you how much? $1,100. You buy the car back from me on the spot. Right? You buy the car back from me for $1,000, and you pay me $1,000. So now you get the car, and I walk away with $1,000 I need. But I still owe you how much? How much? $100 or $1,100? $1,100. This is riba. You got it? Yeah. This is tahayul. This is playing around. Because the intent of buying was not there in the first place. Right? My intention was not to buy the car to own it. My intention was to buy the car, right? To buy the car, and then you buy it back, and you buy it back for less than what you sold it to me for. Which is different than when you buy from a third party, and then you take that product and you go sell it to another party or to a third party. You buy from the second party and you sell it to a third party. There is no kind of tahayul and a trick. There is no such thing. All right. So this is in nasiya, riba al-nasiya. Riba al-fadl is haram also, and it's only in specific kinds of products, right? And riba al-fadl has to do with, if I give you one of those things is gold. If I give you 10 grams of gold, you give me, if we want to exchange gold, if I give you 10 grams of gold, you have to give me back 10 grams of gold. Now someone will say, why do I need to do that? You don't have to do that. Most probably you have no gold, right? But that's the issue. The issue is, for example, you have you have rings, a couple of rings, right? And you go to a jeweler and you tell him, I give you these 2 rings and I want this chain or this bracelet, right? The condition for this to be valid, they must be the same weight, and the exchange must take place on the spot. Got it? Yeah. You don't come and tell him, my rings are old, but the bracelet you're going to give me isn't new. So my rings are 20 grams, and the bracelet is 15 grams. So we exchange, since mine is old and yours is good, so I give you the extra 5 grams for that. That is riba. That's called riba al-fadl. Fadl means excessive. Excessive means there's a difference in amount, right? Again. So I give you the old gold, 20 grams. You give me new gold, 15 grams. Haram. But they're the same value. It doesn't matter. So if it's the same value, this is what you do. You sell your 20 grams, and you get money for it, then you go and buy the 15 grams bracelet. Another thing that this happens to, and it's forbidden, dates. And obviously there are hundreds of different kinds of dates. And there's cheap dates, and there's expensive dates, right? Dates, like the one you eat in Ramadan, not dates like you take someone out, right? So, because even that, they're cheap dates and they're expensive dates, right? Right? And there's free dates. Huh? Anyway, so stay away from the free dates, okay? And the other dates, make sure they're halal dates, all right? طيب. So you cannot take, for example, we have a pound of dates for $10 and another pound of dates for $50. You cannot go and let's say your farm produces the good one or the bad one. Let's say the bad one, right? You have a farm, you have trees, and they produce the less quality. Let's not say the bad, the less quality dates. You cannot take 5 pounds. We said $10 the cheap one and $50 the expensive one, a pound. You cannot take 5 pounds of the cheap one and go and give it to the guy who has the good dates for him to give you 1 pound in return, right? Did I do it right? Okay. So you don't take 5 pounds of the irradi or of the cheap one and get 1 pound of the good one, even though the value is the same. So what you need to do, you take your 5 pounds, you sell them in the market, you get the $50 for it, and then you go buy the 1 pound that is more expensive. Riba al-fadl. All right? And these things apply in certain products, not in everything. يعني if you have, يعني you can, for example, animals like sheep or goats or camels. There are also good ones and bad ones. There are healthy ones, there are less healthy ones, there are more productive ones, with animals, for example, you can exchange 2 chicken for 1 chicken, or 2 cows, 2 cows, for example, a jewel for 1 she cow, or whatever it is. With these things do not apply, right? Certain things, certain foods and certain, so gold and silver and money. So today money, which has no value in reality. In its own, it has no value. That paper is worth nothing. It's a piece of paper, right? You can't even write on it. But the sentiment of it, that it has a value. So you cannot go and exchange, let's say, $100 quarters or $105 in quarters, and you go and you change it for $100, $100 bill, a Benjamin. You can't. Because these are dollars and these are dollars. They're treated as if they're gold and silver. So whatever applies to gold and silver must apply to the dollars, to the money paper. But you can exchange different currencies with different value. So I can give you $100, you give me 80 euros, for example, right? I give you مليون جنيه, you give me $10 in return. Egyptian guinea, right? Egyptian pounds, right? As long as it's Sisi in power, the Egyptian pound gonna get cheaper and cheaper and cheaper, just like the president of it. Right? لعنة الله عليه. اليوم 10 years he's been in power. No, 10 years since that guy stepped down, the other Ilj. 10 years since the revolution. It was a very productive revolution, right? الله المستعان. سرقوها وخطفوها and they kidnapped it. لا بارك الله فيه. Anyway, so some people say, those who are deceived by the dunya and everything is about the dunya, and I don't worry about being paid later, and I want to be paid now. So I'm not worried about al-akhirah. That's too far, and I want to enjoy my dunya. We're here now. You know, dunya, you live once, so enjoy it, as they say, right? The famous bumper sticker. You live once, enjoy it, right? So those people are deceived because all they think about is now. I want to have pleasure now. I want to enjoy my life now. I want to do everything now. والعجيب, and the strange part of that is they don't even get to do what they want. They don't really get to do what they want. Is everyone in the dunya who is deceived about the dunya and who lives for the dunya gets really to enjoy it? Is it free from hardships and free from diseases and free from coronas and free from Budweisers and all these things? It's not. It's suffering over suffering. If you enjoy, if things go well with you for a month straight, you think you're God, right? Some people think that way. Hardly a week passes without you tripping, without you going through difficult times, without you getting a flat tire, or your car breaking down, or your child is getting sick, or yourself getting sick. Things that, or losing money, or have to spend something you did not expect, or you did not plan, and it's not in your budget. This is life. Welcome to reality, right? So even those who are deceived with the dunya are fool enough to think that it's perfect. They're fool enough to think that, you want to live for the dunya. طب انت what you're getting from that? And if you measure these people, today in our world today, if you want to enjoy the dunya, you need to pay. There is no free pleasure in the dunya. You love traveling, you need to pay. You love buying things, you need to pay, right? You like wearing certain brands, some people are obsessed with that, you pay. To be able to pay, you need to make money. You need to make money. And someone will say, I'm doing crypto. If you want to make money in crypto, you need money. You don't open a crypto account and suddenly they give you $1 million. Yalla habibi, yalla go cash. La. You need to start with money, right? That money coming from where? You're either a thief, you're going to steal it from somewhere, or you have to work for it. Working for money, to make money. You need to make money so you can enjoy the dunya. How much time you need to commit to making money so you can enjoy the dunya? Right? And if you look at majority of people, now there are exceptions here and there, those do not mean anything, right? But majority of people, for the 2 weeks vacation, he plans to take himself and his family with, right? The 2 weeks vacation every year, he works the whole year, right? And he's not working the whole year to pay off the vacation. La. He's working the whole year to pay his life expenses and save a little bit that will be enough to take him on his 2 weeks vacation. He does not care. Isa alayhi salam can be coming back. If it's time for his vacation, he's not going to wait for Isa. He has to go for vacation. And you kill him, he is okay with you killing him than to tell him do not take your vacation. Khalas, people programmed like that, right? And you can take it down to a weekly vacation at the end of the week. So they work like animals the whole week, and then whatever they manage to make, they go spend it on the weekend. Through parties, through nightclubs, through drinking, through dates, right? All these things. That's how they live. That's how the kafir lives. And a lot of Muslims try to imitate that lifestyle. هذا صح النوم, you just woke up. Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum. That's my mom's neighbor here, right? Yeah, go to daddy before I kick you out of here with your daddy, right? Yeah. All right. So when you even think about, when we say they're deceived, immediately you think about religious and akhirah-wise, 100% they're deceived. Those who think they need to enjoy this and they don't need, they're not worried about the akhirah. It's too late, too far. But even if you look in the dunya standard, hello. MashaAllah. Allah yahfadhum. May Allah make him righteous. Right? So even in the dunya standards, they're also deceived. They're also deceived. So in conclusion, how much do you really enjoy of the dunya on yearly basis? Right? Every year, how much you're going to enjoy? If you say, and I say the dunya and forget about the akhirah, how much of it you're going to enjoy out of your whole entire life? Assalamu alaikum. Let's remember that. Right? قال والدنيا نقد والآخرة نسيئة. Dunya is pay immediately, cash, and the akhirah, the hereafter, is nasiya, is delayed, right? That's what they mean by they say now is better than later. Assalamu alaikum. Oh, he's coming for that, so I'm not going to break his heart. I might get more ajr doing that than lecturing to you adults. Right? طيب. قال وهذا محل التلبيس. And this is where the deception and this is where the confusion is taking place. Right? Leave him, that's fine. Right? You get all the sins and I got all the hasanah. And I made him happy. Every time I shook my hand, he smiled. Now look, his dad touches him and he's crying. Subhanallah. Right. قال وهذا محل التلبيس. And this is where the key of deception is. Where is the key of confusion? Where the key of not measuring it right for those who say now is better than later. قال فإن النقد لا يكون خيرا من النسيئة إلا إذا كان مثل النسيئة. He said it's impossible that immediate pay is better than later pay unless the immediate pay is the same as the later pay. يعني in other words, if we go back to, because these terminologies have to do with riba, with money, right? With intrinsic action. So what he's saying, and this is impossible, because if someone gonna pay later, usually paying later is more than paying now. So how is it paying now is better than paying later? Because all the time paying later will be more than paying now. You don't tell anybody, listen, if you pay me now cash, it's $1,000. If you pay me in a year, it's $1,000. Nobody does that. And that is the only time, now and later will be the same. Not even, now is better than later. But most of the, or all the time, paying later will be more. So you pay me now 1,000, you pay me later 1,100. So it's never, if it's value-wise, if we're talking about value-wise, paying later is always more than paying now, right? And don't try to be smart and start talking about inflation or value, dollar value gonna drop in a year. Let's not take that into any consideration. And the reason for that, because real money is gold and silver. And in reality, as time goes, gold value and silver value go up, don't go down. These papers, yeah, they drop, right? With inflation and the rate and all that, they drop. You're getting a couple of percentage every year. The value of the dollar starting the year is less than or more than. That's why 20, 30 years ago, $100 or $1,000 will get you more than what $1,000 will get you today. Because it's losing value as times. And the reason for that is because it's floating. Floating. Meaning these papers are just floating. Floating in the hands of people. They have no real value. That's why the government doesn't bother now. $3 trillion stimulus package. $4 trillion. And I don't want my check, I don't want it in dollars. Please send it to me in gold coins. Will they do that? They won't. They won't do that. Because papers, printing, it's only ink, right? And papers, most probably recycle, right? And now sending me real value thing, no habibi, right? No habibi, not here, right? Do you know Arabic? Yes. Tell me, Habibi. Yeah, that's... Most people know Habibi, and then they know Arabic. There are more than one word in Arabic language. You know? Right. But he says, فَإِنَّ النَّقْدَ. He said, even if we're going to take them go along with their argument, naqd is immediate pay, never better than later pay in value. إلا إذا كان مثل, unless it's the same, right? It's the same, then you pay me now, I can enjoy my money rather than waiting. ومعلوم أن عمر الإنسان بالإضافة إلى مدة الآخرة ليس بجزء من 1000 جزء إلى أن ينقطع النفس. He said, and it's well known, it's a fact, that the duration of someone's life in this dunya compared to the akhirah, to the later, to the hereafter, is like a fraction of a fraction of a fraction. وإنما أراد من قال النقد خير من النسيئة إذا كانت النسيئة مثل النقد. He said, however, whoever said paying immediately better than paying later, he meant that paying immediately is the same as paying later. So now is the same as later. The dunya is the same as the akhirah. And he said, وهذا غرور كافر. He said, this is the deception of the kafir. This way of thinking comes only from a kafir. Only the kafir thinks now is the same as later. So in other words, what he's saying, what he's concluding, is whoever says that now is better than later has no clue what the deen of Islam is about. He's only copying a kafir. He's only being like the kuffar. Until you open the book of Allah and you start reading, you don't even pass the first couple of pages and Allah is already talking to you about the akhirah and about al-Jannah and about the pleasure of al-Jannah. The last ayah in the first rubu' of Surah of al-Quran, of al-Mus'haf, talks about al-Jannah. وبشر الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات أن لهم جنات تجري من تحتها الأنهار خالدين فيها، لا مش خالدين، كلما رزقوا منها من ثمرة رزقا قالوا هذا الذي رزقنا وأتوا به متشابها ولهم فيها أزواج مطهرة وهم فيها خالدون. This is the last ayah in the first rubu', and there are ayat before that also imply Baqarah, even al-Fatiha, even al-Fatiha, right? So the idea is, how can you say that now is better than later? And how can you even dare to say now is the same as later? The dunya is the same as the akhirah. How can you have an iota of Islam and think that way? يعني من وين تجيك الجرأة? Where are you getting this audacity from? Allah Azza wa Jal tells you al-akhirah is better than the dunya, and you say the dunya is better than the akhirah, or the dunya is the same as the akhirah. Only the kafir says that. For whoever lives that way and says I'm Muslim, he is closer to the kuffar than Islam. He's closer to the kuffar than he is to the Muslims. He said, and this is وَهَذَا غُرُورُ الْكُفَّارِ, and this is the deception of the kuffar. Only the kuffar should say something like that, not a Muslim. Not a Muslim who already learned about al-akhirah. He already learned what's in al-Jannah. Not a Muslim. وعلى لمناديل سعد بن معاذ في الجنة خير من الدنيا. They bring a garment, cloth of one of the tyrants, and it was full. Or a tyrant comes to Medina and he's dressed. Now the story confused between if it's his clothes that came or himself, and it's some مرصعة بالذهب and diamond or whatever they had, and gold and on his clothes. So the Sahaba look at that and they're impressed. These people, one of them will die and they will not have enough kafan to cover his head and his feet. They'll end up covering like happened to Mus'ab ibn Umayr. Mus'ab ibn Umayr in al-Jahiliyyah, before he became Muslim, will not wear the same clothes twice. He was so spoiled by his mother in Mecca that she made sure that every day he wears a new clothes, new garment. And his smell will be known all around. His smell meaning the perfume, the most expensive perfume that she may have. So when he became Muslim and he made Hijratul Medina and then he died in Uhud, they said, Khabbab said, when we came to cover him, his clothes, if we cover his thobe was short, because he's poor now. Because he made hijrah for Allah and he left everything behind. That when we cover his face, because the martyr or shaheed gets kafan with his own clothes. Shaheed usually is not washed and is not wrapped with shroud or with the kafan. Because he comes on the day of judgment. اللون لون الدم والريح ريح المسك. Come on the day of judgment bleeding. And the rajih, not even salah on him. There is no salah janazah. ولا تحسبن الذين قتلوا في سبيل الله أمواتا بل أحياء عند ربهم يرزقون. There's no salah janazah for shuhada, for martyrs, as if it's implying that they're actually not dead. Because Allah says in the Quran, do not consider those who die in the way of Allah, fi sabilillah. Do not consider them dead, but they are alive with Allah, where He provides for them. That's why the earth, until you bury them, because you're not going to keep them exposed, you bury them, but the earth is forbidden from touching their bodies. The shuhada, the earth is forbidden from decomposing their bodies. Shuhada Uhud, 70 years later, there was a flood in Medina. There was a lot of rain. So a sort of flood. And usually in the past they will not bury very deep. Right? Especially when there are plenty of them. Uhud, there were 70 shaheed. 70 of the Sahaba. So they buried them in the area of Uhud where the battle took place. So this flood came and exposed their bodies. They exposed their bodies. And one of them is Abdullah ibn Jabir Ansari, rahimahullah ta'ala. Right? So they call his son Jabir ibn Abdullah. So as he buries his father back, and his garment gets stained with his father's blood. 70 years later. 70 years later. If we open هذا يقين, this is a matter of yaqeen. This is what we believe. Because this is something the Prophet ﷺ told us, that Allah forbid the earth from touching the bodies of the shuhada. If we were to open their graves, and that's forbidden, but if we were to open their graves today, they will be just the same day they were the day of Uhud. I have no doubt about it. I'm sure of it, more than I'm sure that I am Fadi Yusuf Qabla. This is what it is. Right? قال فأما ملا. Why did we go there? يعني deception. Yeah. حياة الدنيا يعني what's in it, right? For only a kafir, this is expected from a kafir, not from a Muslim, to say that this dunya is the same as the akhirah, right? فأما ملابس المعاصي مع سلامة عقائدهم فإنهم قد شاركوا الكفار في هذا الغرور. He said those who are indulged in sinning, in committing haram, as long as their aqidah is still sound, their aqidah is correct, they still believe in Allah and only Allah, and there is hereafter, and Jannah is better than the hellfire, and I was talking about Mus'ab bin Umair. Yeah. Mus'ab ibn Umair. I wanted to talk. So Mus'ab ibn Umair was martyred in Uhud. This Sahabi who was spoiled by his mother. So Al-Khabbab says, when we came to cover him, to shroud him so we can bury him, to wrap him with his clothes, if we cover his feet, his face shows. If we cover his face, his feet show. So we asked the Prophet ﷺ what we should do, and he said, cover his face with his clothes. And they put some plants on his feet. And Khabbab talks about that because he was saying, and this is Sahih Bukhari, he was saying that we lived and we enjoyed the fruits of Islam in the dunya. Now we have our own homes, we have our own money, Islamic conquer everywhere. Now we took down Persia and Roman and a lot of booties of war and ghanaim. He said, so he's saying in the sense that We are afraid that we come on the day on the day of judgment, and Allah tells us, you already enjoyed your pleasure, you already got your pleasure, you already got your share. He said, Amma Mus'ab ibn Umair. However, Mus'ab ibn Umair did not see any of that. And he left the dunya and he still kept his whole reward for the akhirah. Because he didn't enjoy any of that. Right? Anyway, قال فأما ملابس المعاصي, those who involved in ma'asi, who sin, but they still have the right aqidah. The right aqidah about Allah. The right aqidah about Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. The right aqidah about Islam, Deen Islam. The right aqidah about the Quran. مش واحد يجي يقول لك the Quran is like any other book. And I'm Muslim, but the Quran is like, هذا كافر. مش واحد يحكي لك, come and tells you, I'm Muslim, but you know, Islam is not the only right religion. And why you extremists? Christians could go to Jannah, Jews could go to kafir. He's kafir. As much as he sings how Muslim he is, someone who says that is kafir. Someone who comes to tell Christianity is right and Judaism is right, Hinduism is right, everybody is worshiping, and I'm Muslim, kafir. Kafir, do not give it daniya fi din. Do not hesitate, kafir. Because this is something he doesn't need even to learn to know that it's the reality. This is ma'loom min ad-din bil-darur. This is the most basic about Islam. This is very basic knowledge that everyone should know. No Muslim should be ignorant that Islam is the only true religion. No Muslim, no excuse for it. No excuse. And don't be scared. Take it from me, don't be scared. Let alone, we're not talking about a kid 5 years old coming to tell you that. Even a 5 year old, if he's raised right, he knows that this is not correct. He knows that Islam is the only right religion. But here I'm telling you about old people and maybe pretend to be educated and to be knowledgeable about Islam, and they might be imams and they might be people involved in. Don't be hesitant to tell him you're kafir. By saying that, you're kafir. By saying that, you contradict what's in the Quran. Kafir. And if he believes that, he's kafir. And if he wants to be Muslim, he needs to take shahada again. Why, when it comes to the deen, we are so laid back? Don't be afraid of the word kafir and not kafir. If he's saying something you're 100% sure, contradicting to the deen of Allah, and something that he should know, he better know, because every Muslim is expected to know. Kafir takes the person out of Islam. Islam does not need people like that. And the least you can, what benefit if I tell him you're kafir? Don't tell him. I'm not telling you you have to tell him. But the minimum, the least you should do is to believe in your heart that he's kafir. Because beyond that, there is no iman with you. After that, beyond that, there is no iman. قال من رأى منكم منكرا فليغيره بيده فإن لم يستطع فبلسانه فإن لم يستطع فبقلبه ذلك أضعف الإيمان. This is the weakest of الإيمان. Who sees evil, let him change it with his hand. He can with his mouth. He can't with his tongue. He can't with his heart. And this is the lowest level of الإيمان. There is no iman beyond that. No, I don't want to rush to. You're not rush. You're not making a statement. You're not making a verdict. You're nothing. You're nobody. And if you tell him kafir, that does not change if he's kafir or not. And you don't need to tell him that. I'm not telling you to go and tell people who say that kuffar. But you need down in your heart, at least deep in your heart, to believe he's kafir. Because if you don't, you might be at the verge of becoming like him. لأنه من شك في كفر الكافر فهو كافر. This is another maxim in Islam. Who doubts the disbelief, the kufr of the disbeliever, is a disbeliever. Sure? My brothers, this deen is precious and very valuable. Has no place for losers. Do you give your food to anybody? You let anybody in your house? You let anybody see your bank account? No, you don't. No, you don't. No, none of us does. So why, when it comes to the deen of Allah, we're everybody in. We have no problem with everybody in. Okay, welcome. This is the deen of Allah, not our deen, but with the conditions of the deen. The deen has conditions. You respect that, well, you're welcome. You don't want to respect that, get the heck out. Islam doesn't need you, and you don't need Islam. Go away. Islam doesn't need people like you, and you don't need Islam if you want Islam to be according to your hawa. You don't need it. Go find your own hawa, find another religion, go make up your own religion. But don't come and mess with our own religion and start screwing it up. Especially if you're in a position of influence. You have teachers in Islamic schools thinking that way. So what they're gonna raise, what they're gonna be teaching these kids? I'm not talking about sinners. We're all sinners. I'm not talking a teacher, a kindergarten teacher in Islamic school during the day, and at night she's belly dancer. I'm not talking about that person. And this is true. This is a true story. And she has no problem posting that on Facebook, her pictures. What do you expect you're gonna raise? Little belly dancers? Subhanallah. Subhanallah. All right. So the idea is, my deen is valuable. And you better respect it, and I will be on top of you, and I will put you in your place. Amma Muslims are weak today, and none of them have, or most of them do not have the guts or the stamina to defend their deen or to stand up firm for their deen. So their deen gets insulted, and he's quiet, and he's putting a fake smile on his face. No. No. The deen is right, the only deen of Allah. إن الدين عند الله الإسلام ومن يبتغ غير الإسلام دينا فلن يقبل منه أفغير دين الله يبغون وله أسلم من في السماوات ومن في الأرض. They want a deen other than Islam, and everything in the heavens and the earth already accepted Islam beside the kuffar. This is the deen of Allah, and whoever seeks a religion besides Islam will not be accepted from it. And indeed the right religion, the only right religion in the sight of Allah is Islam. What else you want? What else you want? To come and tell me I'm Muslim, but other people will go to heaven. Other people are good people. Why Mother Teresa will not go to heaven? Have you seen the corruption that Mother Teresa has committed and got exposed? That the money she was taking, how she was spending it, the condition of the people that she was collecting millions of dollars to support the orphans, and have you seen the documentaries of her exposure? But regardless, she was the nicest woman in the world. Whatever you want to believe. And I myself, I don't see any good to a level. Any good to a level that I would admire. Again, and every word is critical. I myself do not see any good or a good in a kafir that I would admire, the good I would admire. As long as that person is kafir. I don't. Even if he's going with a spoon and feeding honey to every poor person in the world, I will not admire that. It's nice, but I will not admire it. Because this person did not know. This person does not know what he was created for. So all that he does, in my opinion, is a show. Because you either do things for Allah or you do it for yourself. So if this guy is a kafir, he doesn't know Allah the way he should. So he's doing it for himself. Listen to most people who do good stuff, who are involved in charities. Listen to them. Just listen to an interview, listen to or read an article they wrote or a book or whatever. What they always talk about? It makes me feel good. Right? What I do makes me feel good. I feel, I want to help these people. It makes me happy. That's good, which is fine. Then that's what you're doing it for, because it makes you happy. So you're getting satisfaction out of it. Why should I admire that? That's why your action is only valuable and respectful and admirable in my eyes when it's done for Allah. Why am I gonna admire you doing something that you're the one who's enjoying it? Not me, not even me. I'm not even getting the spoon of honey. You know? No. And again, I'm not putting down what you do, but I don't admire it, since you're not doing it for the sake of Allah. Well, this is what I just said. This is in the Quran. This is not something I made up or something I feel. It's not my personal opinion. Allah Azza wa Jal tells you the good that the kuffar do. Because a lot of Muslims don't read the Quran, but if they would read, they will find it. Go read Surah An-Nisa, right? Surah An-Nisa, yeah. Or Surah, yeah, Nisa. Right? Allah says about the kuffar, مثل ما ينفقون في هذه الحياة الدنيا. Here, you talk about how much charity they do. Here, listen to Allah. The example of what they spend in this dunya. يعني the good stuff they do, the good spending, the charity. مثل ما ينفقون في هذه الحياة الدنيا كمثل ريح فيها صر أصابت حرث قوم فأهلكت ظلموا أنفسهم فأهلكت. Right? أصابت حرث قوم ظلموا أنفسهم فأهلكت. وما ظلمهم الله ولكن أنفسهم يظلمون. Right? He said the example of those who spend in the example of what they spend in this dunya, the kuffar, not the believers, the kuffar, is the example or the parable of a wind. Pay attention to the details. A wind, very cold, that hit a farm of bad people and it destroyed it. So that whatever they spend is like this farm. A wind comes, so you have the greatest farm. These people are spending millions of dollars. You have the greatest farm with the fruits, with the plants, with the vegetations, with the houses, with trees, whatever. And then this serious wind comes, this tornado sort of, and destroys. He said them spending their money, and obviously since they're kuffar, not for the sake of Allah, them spending their money is nothing other than them burning their money. Yani in other words, there is no good in it for you to admire. There's no good in it for you to admire. All he's doing is just destroying his money. How is he destroying his money? He's doing good stuff. He's destroying his money in his perspective, to him. Yani in other words, it's not going to give him any benefit in the akhirah. You understand? Because he did not do it for the sake of me. As if he got his stacks of money and burned it. The people who he spent benefiting, this guy is getting full, and this guy getting clothes, and this guy getting food, and this guy getting medicine, that's fine. But for himself, if he's kafir, that means there is no la ilaha illallah, there is no sincerity, there is no ikhlas. So there is no difference between him taking the money and burning it, dumping it in the ocean, or spending it on the poor. For him, he's not going to get any benefit. So what is it I should admire? Right? And if you're a Muslim and this is how you spend, the same. So you have to be careful. You have to be careful of what you spend so you can get the ajr of it. You must be for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal. طيب. Let's finish this paragraph, 2 lines of then since we started it. He said, so those who are indulged in sins, the believers, but their aqidah is right. They still believe the right thing about Allah. They believe the right thing about Islam. They believe the right thing about the Quran. They believe the right thing about the Akhirah. They believe the right thing about Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They believe the right thing about the other prophets, right? Their aqidah is right. But they got caught with sins, with ma'asi, with pleasure of the dunya. فَإِنَّهُمْ قَدْ شَارَكُوا الْكُفَّارَ فِي هَذَا الْوَرْدِ. Then they are similar to the kuffar in this deception. They're not kuffar, but they're behaving, being so after the dunya in in this department, they're similar to the kuffar. لأنهم آثروا الدنيا على الآخرة, because they gave preference to the dunya over the akhirah. Well, he tells you the akhirah is beautiful and great and better than the dunya, but I live now, so I want to enjoy now. When I get to the akhirah, then I figure it out. Right? إلا أن أمرهم أسهل من أمر الكفار. However, their affair is still easier than the affair of the kuffar. That's if their aqidah is right. So this kafir lives for the dunya and this Muslim lives for the dunya. But this Muslim, he still believes in Allah and the Messenger and the right aqidah. Still, his situation is better than the situation of this disbeliever. من جهة أن أصل الإيمان يمنعهم من عقاب الأبد. Why? Because the fact that he has the right aqidah in the akhirah, even if he's thrown in hellfire, he will not be there for eternity. He will eventually get out. أما the kafir who dies mushrik or not believing in Allah, he has no escape in hellfire for eternity. والعياذ بالله. ومن العصاة من يغتر فيقول إن الله كريم وإنما نتكل على عفوه وربما اغتروا بصلاح آبائهم. طيب هذه بدها جلسة. So we stop here إن شاء الله. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. Inshallah, Brother Morsi started his chemo today. May Allah Azza wa Jal give him full recovery. نسأل الله عز وجل رب الناس أن يشفيه. اللهم رب الناس أذهب البأس واشفي أنت الشافي لا شفاء إلا شفاؤك شفاء لا يغادر سقما. اللهم رب الناس أذهب البأس واشفي أنت الشافي لا شفاء إلا شفاؤك شفاء لا يغادر سقما. اللهم رب الناس أذهب الباس واشفي أنت الشافي لا شفاء إلا شفاؤك شفاء لا يغادر سقما. اللهم رب الناس أذهب الباس واشفي أنت الشافي لا شفاء إلا شفاؤك شفاء لا يغادر سقما. اللهم رب الناس أذهب الباس واشفي أنت الشافي لا شفاء إلا شفاؤك شفاء لا يغادر سقما. اللهم رب الناس أذهب الباس واشفي أنت الشافي لا شفاء إلا شفاؤك شفاء لا يغادر سقما. اللهم رب الناس أذهب الباس واشفي أنت الشافي لا شفاء إلا شفاؤك شفاء لا يغادر سقما. آمين يا رب العالمين. جزاكم الله خير. السلام عليكم.